Hello, finally we did it. But I have some comments and I think my comments will help to find a better way, better workflow. So compare this. Mangekation panners and single files took me 13 hours to edit and Gladbach took me 25 hours to edit. Big difference. I'm explaining. I have a list of problems here, and I want to go through this list to show you what obstacles I encountered, why it was so difficult, and why sometimes I am confused and I don't know where to move those adjustment sliders. So first of all, let's take this compression era black. So I open the panners, the files you give me. I see this picture. I try to edit it here and there, and I have some results. And then you ask me, make the ceiling darker. Okay, no problem. But what really helps, when at the end you sent me the single shots, the originals, the files before merging to HDR, I saw this is an unedited picture, flat, no adjustments, flat curve. I see the ceiling is almost black, and I see the colors actually. I see what's going on. The table is black, this table is white, the ceiling is almost black. Here's some yellow lights. I see what's going on. But I didn't have these original files in the beginning, so I didn't have any idea. And I open this picture, I see gray ceiling, really gray. I had no idea it was actually black. It should be black. So this was a really big bummer, and it could be better at once. If I had this reference file in the beginning, it would save much time, and the result will be more precise, more accurate. Overcompression error. This is a big problem. This is a huge problem. And this is a flat image. This is an HDR image that you compressed, so you did the merging in that panorama tool. The sky is kind of, here's more white and here's gray, so the gradient is uneven. When I add adjustments, add more contrast, it really shows up. Actually, I have to manually compensate for this. I have to make it smooth. It's much work. Okay, here, same. Nice flat picture. But when after, this is rough adjustment, this is not real adjustment, just to show the point. You see this thing here? This is compression algorithm went crazy. It should be a smooth white wall. What you see here, here it's white, here it's yellow, here it's almost gray, and here's even more darker. And this should be a white, smooth wall. I didn't notice it at first. And then when I noticed it, I had to correct for this. This is much work. This is really difficult. You have to make a manual selection. Same here. This pillar, this corner, should be white corner, like here on the left. So they are similar in real life. But in the files, they're so much different. This is kind of a big smudge here. And you finally sent me these two files. I deleted all adjustments. This is a flat image, and you see the wall is almost white. I don't know why in the bottom it is kind of brighter. Was it in original life, or was it this is an artifact of the camera? I don't know. But anyway, you don't have this smudge in the middle. We shouldn't have this here. Somehow we have to have a workflow not to spoil the material. The next question is HDR versus panorama HDR. So what I suggest, we have to have a linear 32-bit, ideally 16-bit, possibly linear HDR panorama file. No compression at all. So this is a compressed panorama. The black ceiling is almost gray. The floor, I don't know what color it was in real life. The windows, whatever. At first you sent me this. And this is a compressed HDR image. You can see this is terrible. This is over-saturated yellow, like poisonous yellow. The colors are screwed. It doesn't matter how much I try to correct it, I cannot have a good result. So my way was producing several files. I adjust for this part of image, I adjust for this part of image. And then in Photoshop, I manually combine these two. So later on, you sent me these single files before merging to HDR. And it somehow helped. I deleted all adjustments, flat image, and I kind of see what was going on in real life. But then I noticed I can actually open your HDR file, delete all adjustments and set it to flat. And what I get, I actually get this one, the single shot before merging to HDR. They're different, you can see, a little bit different, but kind of the colors are similar, the same almost, and I can use these HDRs as reference. I try not to use compressions, highlights, shadows, adjustments. They are screwing with the image a lot. And then I produce 2, 3, 4 bracketed images and then combine them into one in Photoshop. But when we have panoramas, you have already compressed them in some panorama tool. And you did it with some compression algorithm. And when I open this, I have a totally different picture. Let's reset totally, make a total reset. So you can see when I reset to 0 the HDR panoramas, I don't get a similar image that I got with a single shot HDR. So the colors continue to be screwed. I have some compression issues, so I cannot use these panoramas set to 0, total reset. I cannot use as a reference what real colors were. It doesn't really help. So when Lightroom or something compresses single shots, they somehow keep this information, Nikon Z6II. This is an HDR, but it kept the information, it kept the colors. I can use it as a reference to find the colors, to see what was in real life. But when I use panoramas, it shows TIFF here. I cannot use it as a reference. Even if I reset everything to 0, it doesn't help me. I don't know what were the real colors. So my suggestion is, if you can merge the panorama into flat, uncompressed, linear image, then I can work with it in the same way as over here. So this is an HDR, but it is a linear HDR. When you merge the panorama, it killed the linear profile. For example, you can see this wall, blue wall, and blue shelves. I doubt they were blue in real life, but I'm not sure. Here we have 3 images. So this wall, and this wall. Actual same wall in real life, but the colors are totally different. I guess, I don't know for sure, I guess that the color of this wall is also the same color as it should be here, and it should be here. But they're totally different. If I had some reference images, what color this wall should be, I could adjust the colors. I could apply local white balance. I could adjust the colors. I could reduce this blue hint. The problem was I didn't know. I generally thought this is one color and this is different color. The single shots, the files you sent me, like these ones, really help to identify real colors and really help to see what was the situation in reality. So the next problem with colors again, I start editing the panels. I see this picture and I have no idea the real colors of this red wall. Here in single shots it is very bright and saturated. But what was the reality? I have no idea. When you sent me the files before merging, I reset the settings to 0. I chose a clear profile, not flat profile, but clear profile. I actually can guess the color of the wall. This is oversaturated here, and this is totally messed up color. It's so far from reality as it could be. Another question I have is, what's the deal with this Nikon or Adobe Standard Linear Profile? I don't see the benefit of it. How does it help you? This is Nikon profile and this is neutral profile. The Nikon profile is kind of one stop darker, so the neutral profile is closer to the truth than this Nikon profile. This is the settings I got when you sent me the files. I thought you kind of adjusted the files and here what you want to see here, and I need to make some final adjustments and retouch. But actually this oversaturated file is too far away from what we need. The result, my result is over here. So as you can see, these files help to understand what were the real colors. White balance problem. This is a huge one. I got it this way. Blue wall, yellow. So I try to compensate for yellow and I get totally blue wall. The problem is I don't know what was the real color in reality. After I got the files from you, just in the end, I saw the white balance everywhere is different. So, well, should be yellow? Should be white, or should it be blue? How should I know this? So these files really helped me to understand that this wall is actually white but with yellow lighting. But it was too late. I decided the files were already edited, so the result was this one. So another problem is this pitch roll. It is obvious, you can see the vertical lines are off. This is because pitch roll is not set properly. Here the same thing. I don't know why, but it adds an extra step to correct, and sometimes I don't even know how to correct them. Another one is retouch problem. You can see that the first set was 14,000 by 7,000. Then you sent me the second panorama, the tips, and they were 16,000 by 8,000. A little bit bigger, but what I noticed, my computer worked so much slower with these bigger files. So much slower. And I didn't notice the difference in resolution at first, so I worked with the files as they were, and I tried to retouch the floor. You can see shadows, you can see dust, you can see flares. And I tried to remove it with the clone tool. You can see these artifacts. It really doesn't work on this kind of grainy carpet. The funny thing is, when I use the remove tool, this one, it is even worse. And the funniest thing is when I use AI tool, you can see that the grain structure is totally different. The eye catches this immediately. I cannot use these algorithms. Moreover, generative AI or remove tool works so much ridiculously slow. You just wait and wait and wait. It works terribly slow. When I work on single shots, it is 3 times faster. It is much faster. For some reason, though, I don't retouch the whole image. I retouch only a small part of it. But anyway, it starts to lag. It starts to struggle. And the result is bad. So I have to use different techniques. I can do it, but it takes much more time, finally. Another thing about compression, the artifacts show up in windows and window frames. Window frame, they should be white like this one, but they get darker. This is because compression tries to do something and actually it makes darker frames. Sometimes it's very much noticeable, like here, or you can see. This should be white. This is the same white color. Actually, it made so much darker, and in the middle, you can see in the bottom near the floor, it is lighter, and here it gets much darker because the compression mechanism goes crazy. That's why I don't love compression mechanism. Actually, compression mechanism and panorama merging and HDR merging is so much more advanced in smartphones than in Photoshop or in cameras, professional cameras. It is a ridiculous situation, but this is true. So what I suggest, I can work with these files, single shots HDR files. I can use them to different layers. This part, the ceiling, the walls, and here. Same goes with windows. And then I combine them in Photoshop. So if you can do it the same with panoramas, it will really help. My question is, why do you have to merge them into HDR in the first place? When you have your bracketed files, several bracketed files, I can adjust this one for window. I can adjust this one for the right side, and I can adjust this one for the middle side. And then I combine them into one in Photoshop. And we have the best of the worlds. We don't have compression artifacts because I actually do the compositing manually. It is slower than just making compression, but it is much better. My suggestion is don't merge them into HDRs. Just give me the bracketed files. With panoramas, it is better maybe to merge panorama into 32 bits linear HDR. What I mean by compression. Compression is the algorithms that highlights, shadows. So the disadvantage of compression algorithm is you can see here's at the side of this wall a shadow begins. It shouldn't be there. It should be a smooth wall. It appears here because of this compression. The black table is not black anymore. Black ceiling is not black anymore. The colors are getting crazy. So these artifacts are introduced by compression algorithms. They are not perfect, unfortunately.